But what an outcome, eh? Bunch of kit cars made in somebody's shed, winning a classic car show.
Top job there, Paul. Top job.
Would you?
Absolutely proper job.
Yeah. Thumbs up. Brilliant job.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, let's jump into the topic at hand, guys, if that's all right with you. I'm going to add our little slideshow to the stage, and I'm going to ask Chris if he wouldn't mind just giving us a synopsis on what we're looking at. You had suggested that we look at the good, the bad, and what could have and should have been. And we may just toss in a few of what were they thinking.
Yeah, it was really just for the fun of it, something to talk about on a wet evening. But as you all know, I've been building cars for so long. I've built so many variations, but there's some that really stand out as top quality products, and others where you think, please just take it away. I don't want anything to do with this. It's so awful. And there's been a good few of those, I will say. So, and when you suggested I put a list together, I thought, well, these are the ones that sprung to mind straight away. We could go on for a week on this topic because there's an awful lot of people that have done some great work and an awful lot more that didn't.
Well, let's just jump in. Let's look at the good. Can we start there? Now, I'm just going to comment that you mentioned you built so many. My understanding is it's somewhere north of 100 cars that you've built. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's about 131 now, and 131, 132 and counting.
Wow.
Wow. And not all of them were ground up builds. Some of them were just finish offs for customers that had got halfway through the build and got stuck for whatever reason. Then they would come and find me and I'd finish it off for them. But so yeah, let's dive straight into the first one, the Westfield. Of all the cars I've built, this was the one that had the best factory support and the very, very best fit and finish. Whatever you needed, the one I built that I'd managed to build one on my own in 7 days, had a 1600 crossflow in it, and every single nut bolt bracket that I could ever want was a phone call away. Their factory backup was superb, and the quality, even things like the rear wings, everything is on alignment pegs in the fiberglass molds. You can't get stuff in the wrong place. It's literally just push it up against the side, drill a hole through, put a bolt in it. So it was a really top quality product. And people nowadays think, oh, you've got to have 400 horsepower. You drive a Westfield with a 1600 with a pair of 40s on the side of it and tell me it's not fun. Honestly, a really good little car.
I think that's what most people miss, that a lot of people go down like as you say, it's like a schoolyard talk. I've got this horsepower, I've got that horsepower, but you don't need massive horsepower to have fun in a 7.
That's right. Suspension geometry is a big deal.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in here. Anybody who's built a kit car themselves, and Trevor, you can jump in as you wish because you've got the 2B experience. Having everything that comes in that big box actually fit at the right time, at the right place is somewhat rare, let alone coming with all of the instructions that you might need to put it together.
I think the great thing, and Chris has sort of alluded to it there, is before the hood, I had a Dutton, and I remember talking to one of the guys from the owners club, and the words of advice he gave were, what you have to remember is Duttons, Robin Hoods, you build. Westfields, Caterhams, you assemble. And that is the big difference, which back in those, Chris made like 90s, early 2000s, was the big difference between those classes of kit car.
Yeah. And that added another level of complication, because if you don't have a reasonable workshop or some experience, you probably haven't got the finance to go and buy a decent quality kit either. So you're, by financial decisions, heading for the lower end of the market. But then if you haven't got facilities, that's unfortunately where our lovely little industry started to garner quite a bad reputation, because people who didn't really have the money or the skills were putting together something which they would hope would be an assembly, but it wasn't. You actually had to build the thing, make brackets, move stuff around and make it all fit. So yeah, it was a very productive era, but it didn't do the industry any real favors.
No, I think the industry sold a lot of kits, but they sold them to perhaps the wrong people, and they ended up as what we call just abandoned or lost dreams. They just ended up in a garage, half built, like your Tiger Avon.
Absolutely. That had been through 3 owners before I got it, and it's been 20 years since it left the factory, and it's never turned a wheel and hanger because people tried, hoping it would be, let's just bolt it together, and it wasn't. You know, there was bits that needed moving, changing, adjusting. And it's not. I'm not blaming Tigers for a moment because they provided a reasonably good quality, very well priced starting point.
Exactly.
But I think the only thing I would say, in fairness to the industry, and I think this is one of the big contributing factors, and it was when I was involved with the Firefly, you suddenly realise that, compared to how we were back in the 80s and 90s, that if your car broke down, most of the time, unless it was something cataclysmic, you tended to fix it yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's 2 problems. One is people haven't got the enthusiasm, the younger generation haven't got the enthusiasm, get their hands dirty and so on. And the other problem is half the time you need the laptop to do it anyway. So, things have evolved and have changed quite a lot as well.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Interesting question that came in, guys. The question was, would you build another kit car? And it's a dumb question for Chris because he's building one right now. But for yourself, Trevor,
and more still in the pipeline as well.
Oh, there you go. And how about you, Trevor, as a 2B builder? Do you think at this point in your life you've got more time and another kit in the future?
I think after the experience of the 2B, I would potentially take another one of those on. However, I would argue of any of the kits that I saw at Malvern or Newark, when you walk around, you look at the quality of kits that are out there now, it is a total transformation for what was being offered 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, SVA hadn't come along. It was a completely different generation of kits. So anything that's there for sale now, yes, I would take on. If you took me back 30 years, knowing what I know now, I think I would pick out kits such as Chris has rightly identified the Westfield. I think I'll also pick out kits like the JBA because I think that was always a very good quality kit and went together well. I'm trying to think any off the top of my head at that particular period of time. JBA, I think, and Chris may have a different opinion, was I think sort of the top end of that, not budget end or entry level kit. It certainly wasn't a Robin Hood. It was a lot better built than that. John Barlow is a particularly good engineer. I've met the guy a couple of times, and I'm sure Chris has met him many times. But that was a different era of kits. But like I say, the modern kits, there is a level of expectation now that the kits that are on the market, whether it's an Nexus set at 4,995 plus VAT or whatever, or whether it's an AK GT40 for the thick end of 100,000, everyone expects them to go together first time, straightforward. The thing of the Robin Hood thing of making various brackets out of offcuts of stainless steel is not the current market. So, in answer to your question, yes, any of the kits that are out there on the market today, yes, I would quite happily have a go at, because I know there's, as Chris mentions, the backup, and also it will go together.
Yeah, I think it's also, when you look back in the past, that you'd see some of these kit car manufacturers pop up, offer these kit cars for sale, and then like 3 months later they go bust.
Yeah.
But like the current market at the moment, all the current players, if you go to any kit car show, all the current people that are displaying there, they've been in the kit car industry now for many, many years. And they are sound financially, they're not going to go bust. Well, I'll say that. But yeah, back in the day, these companies will pop up, flog you a car for, I don't know, 500 quid, a grand, whatever, and then you'd hear nothing from them again. So it's totally changed. The kit car industry now has totally changed. The quality's there as well.
I think you just mentioned is the money behind it, and just like how many guys? I mean, going back to the low-cost ethos, especially with sevens, low-cost, created this space frame that people could then build upon. And somebody came up with the Martin Keenans and came up and say, gee, I can build something out of that. And then so they started their own little thing, but it was flying by the seat of your pants, if you don't mind me saying so, in the early days. And my kit, the Demon Motorsport, was a clone of an MK, and it didn't last long, but I love mine. Now, just as a little bit of an aside before we move on to the next slide, and this is a mention for Paul, is I think that's got a lovely grit bin in the background there for you to look at.
That is one of my favourite cars. Is that yours? Is that yours, Paul?
Is that Tichy in the background? Is it?
Yeah, give Paul a couple of weeks. He'll have that IV8.
Yeah. I'm glad you're on about. I was glad you was on about manuals and everything, because none of mine ever come with one.
No.
Everything was like self. You had to work out yourself. But that was the 70s for you, Ernie.
And that's how they were, weren't they?
Yeah. I've even got a copy of one of the books I own, a letter from the local council saying that the car was what it was, and they forwarded it to the DVLA so they could register it. Years ago, the local council used to.
What are your thoughts on rebodies?
Oh,
a very interesting market and a very good way around the IVA test for people who haven't got the facilities of a full workshop, because you can do a rebody on a driveway successfully.
Yes.
Whereas building a whole kit on a driveway with no cover, there's some people have done it, but it's hard work, especially in the UK climate. It's hard work.
Yeah.
But I would I was going to say, I would also argue, Chris, I think the great thing about rebodies, and I know some of them aren't as possibly as good as others, is that I think that opens the kit car market to a much wider audience. Those that are not, as you say, not prepared to take the engine, the gearbox, the axle, suspensions out, but are prepared to repanel a car, but also have that confidence that if they've got a Z3 with a body kit on it, they can take it down to its local garage and they can still service it without any problems.
Good point.
Yeah. And the other thing is, because it's a rebody, as long as you don't touch that chassis, well, they don't generally have a chassis these days, it's monocoque or whatever, as long as you don't muck around the chassis, it is just a rebody. So you don't need an IVA test.
That's it. And you can keep the same registration number, and it's a paperwork exercise, and you're off and running.
And also the safety aspect of it, in it. It's already been crash tested.
Yeah.
Basically, just moulding panels onto it, in you.
Yeah.
And what have we got here, Chris? Which one of the clones are we looking at right now? And does this qualify as a rebody?
I'm guessing it's a Chesil.
I was going to say Chesil.
And it qualifies as a rebody as long as the VW pan has stayed intact. Even if you've changed...
Objection, Your Honour. Objection.
Yeah, right.
Because if you're going to fit a Chesil body to it, you have to shorten the chassis. Therefore, you have modified the chassis.
Right. Okay, so it has to be shortened to fit.
On the Chesil, it does. I believe Pilgrim did one that was lengthened, so it would fit on the original wheelbase. But I think I'm not suggesting that there may be Chesils out there that are re-registered that may have been on shortened chassis that may not have been through an IVA, but I'm not going to commit to anything like that without my solicitor present.
It's interesting you picked up on that about the shortened chassis, especially Beetle chassis, because I know of one person. He took his car for an MOT. It was based on a Beetle chassis. The MOT inspector did spot that the chassis had been shortened, and he failed to. He said, "I can't MOT it,"
which is what you should do.
It needs an IVA test. So sorry, don't touch it.
And once
Trevor,
that's
you
been
took the
flagged up once,
conversation in a slightly different direction from what I was thinking, because I know when you interviewed Westfield and you looked at the Chesil lineup, they have the traditional or original platform Chesils, and then they've got the new ones with the hybrid suspension, if you will. And I thought that you were going to talk about, they wouldn't qualify based on the fact that it no longer has the original suspension.
But I'd argue that's an evolution of the way the market has gone, because when I spoke to Simeon about that, because puts the car up with a ramp and I look under it and go, that ain't the Beetle. And he said, well, there's two problems. One, the number of good Beetle chassis about is reducing rapidly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that people, they look at a car like that and think it's fantastic and think, I'd love to have one of those. But they don't realise that if you put it on a Beetle floor pan, it drives like something that Hitler designed. So, they're expecting it to drive like an MX-5. So that's why they introduced their own chassis, because they want it to stop, quickly. They want it to handle and go around corners. So, and that's a reflection of evolution of the market, I would argue.
Yeah,
definitely. And the Beetle floor plan, you start chucking in like Porsche engines or whatever. It was never designed to handle that power, so it's going to be all over the place.
Yeah. Now, Chris, you mentioned that this was under your good variety of kits. You've had some experience building these?
I have. I built a couple of these, and the fiberglass quality was exemplary. Really straight panels, brilliant door gaps, relatively easy to put together. I mean, the ones that I built were on Beetle chassis, so I had to do disc brake upgrades, change it over from the swing axle rear end over to an independent rear suspension, just to try and make it handle better, so it would be enjoyable to drive. But as a quality kit, they never tried to do them as cheap kits. They were not interested in the budget market, but they sold an awful lot of kits, and there were some beautiful examples out there.
Their interiors look sumptuous. They look like a proper small manufacturer car.
And you can take it to a classic car show, and people don't turn their nose up and think, oh, it's a plastic kit car. No, it's a really, really good replica of a Porsche 356. Really, and very usable.
It looks absolutely class as well, especially in like that paint scheme there, with the ivory white or whatever, or in the silver. It looks a class car.
Yeah,
the other clever part of their marketing, which is just a side effect, that shape appeals to women as well. So it's not a chested sports car for the bloke. So when the couple goes to the dealership and wants to buy one, he hasn't got to convince his wife that it's a nice car and it'll be fun. She'll look at it and say, that's a nice car, and they're a sizable investment. They're not cheap to build and they're not cheap to buy. Their residual prices are very good. So it's quite a financial investment. So if you haven't got to try and convince your wife it's a good idea, job's easy. You're in.
Absolutely. And it would sound so lovely with a Hayabusa engine.
No, that's just wrong. That's just wrong.
or two of them.
Yeah. Couldn't help myself, guys. Too easy.
But all joking aside, a friend of mine built one of those just quickly, and it's exactly what Chris says. The quality of it, 100% brilliant.
Yeah.
Mr. Barlow, I've been expecting you again by the look of this picture.
This style of car I really like, typical wedding cars, but I like the old style look. I mean, I know I've got an MK, nowhere near old style. I do like the classic looks, like yours, Chris.
Chris, what are we looking at?
This is it started off as the Royale Windsor, I believe, this model particularly. Then he did a long wheelbase one, and then he did the Landaulet with the fold down rear. Very obviously aimed at the wedding car market. Very obvious. So, but again, with John Barlow, you can see his work. You've only got to walk close to the car, and you look at the quality of the turn edges, the thickness of the fiberglass, and the overall togetherness of the design. You think that's probably John's involved in that, because he does really, really good work.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the front doors. Are they mini front doors? They look like mini front doors, but then
no.
What,
You're thinking of a Buford.
I'm thinking of that's what I'm thinking of. Yes, yeah.
which again
Yeah.
started off, whether you see a really early Mark 1 Beaufort, it had the whole mini body shell on the back. And it was very obviously a mini body shell with a great big long bonnet attached and big swoopy wings. But then when they developed a little bit further down the line and only kept the mini doors and reshaped the rest of the bodywork, again, an absolute big hit with the wedding car industry because they looked apart the 1930s big limo.
Yeah.
I
know
always
nothing about. Go for
They
it.
know it's going to be reliable as well for weddings.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing.
I always remember one of the a review of Buford's, and they said that one of the problems with the early cars is it looked like a mini shell on the back of a truck chassis.
Yes, that's exactly
which
what it
was which effectively they did say was slightly harsh, but when you look back at them, it did look like a mini shell on the back of a truck chassis, which is slightly unfortunate. But they did, as Chris rightly said, they did definitely improve as the time goes on, and they now are, seem quite sought after. But interesting, this car mark, which John Barlow went after quite a lot with this design, and also the later car, and Chris will help me, the ones that he did based on the London cab chassis.
All right.
Ooh,
Yes.
not heard of those.
I can't
Not heard
remember.
of those.
Right.
Yeah, they were a bit later on.
And it's IVA exempt because it's on an existing chassis.
Which is one of the reasons he went down that MR2 base for anti. That was around the time I was doing the Dart, and that was one of these things he really disliked SVA, IVA. But one of the problems with that particular market, they're wonderful cars, but now the whole wedding market has changed, and this is the thing I got from Bangers and Cash. These cars, the value has dropped considerably, because so many people have weddings at I've got one called when you have them at, like, I don't know, museums or hotels and that kind of thing. They're not using wedding cars in the way that they used to, or in the same sort of numbers. So these cars, unfortunately, are something that is dropping out of demand.
Yeah. Can I just add one more little bit about John Barlow? I don't know if any of you have seen his latest one-off, the Riley-based 30s style car he's done, I think, for himself primarily.
Is it a bit Bugatti-ish?
That's it. It's beautiful. The workmanship is stunning in it. But I think he's just done it for himself as an interest project, as far as I'm aware. There's no sign of it being marketed anywhere, but that's definitely one to look out for.
Wow. Moving right along, what have we got here? It looks to me a runner.
That looks nice. Run art.
Yeah. If you want to make a bit of a splash when you drive onto a show field, that's the car to do it in. Everybody will tell it. They really got charisma and presence, and they handle brilliantly as well, because it's all Jaguar XJ6 suspension with uprated or downrated spring rates, so it works properly. 4.2 litre straight six or a V12. There's one coming not far from me now. I think he's over in Peterborough direction. A dark green one with a Jaguar V12 in it, with all the copper inlet trumpets and all copper plumbing all over the place.
Well, between you and Trevor, we're going to probably have to send you up there to pay a visit, because we talked to him about it. Yeah,
beautiful car. He came to my little local show at Northwold last year, and I was absolutely bowled over. But lovely guy as well, really chatty. 95% of the people were there had no idea what it was, but he was happily explaining to them all day. But these again, very well accepted in the classic car market. Jaguar Drivers Club recognises it. So for people that are more on the sort of the shelf between the kit replica and the classic car market, they fit in really, really well. And very easy to build.
I do like the look of that. It looks real proper. I do like the classic look of cars, as I say. That looks a proper, 50s racer type thing.
1950s Formula One style. Yeah.
And if you talk about presence too, and just listening to that baby come up the drive, it must be impressive.
Yes. I think one of those wow moment cars that if it's in your garage, every time you open the garage doors, take it out for a drive, you think, yes,
you've made it.
Yeah, and this is going to be special. Yeah.
Now, performance-wise, the 4.2 Jaguar engine is really heavy. It's a monster of a thing. So the little Rover V8 or the new Jaguar V8 would be an absolutely perfect fitment in one of those, because it would even out the weight distribution front to rear, because you'd lose something like 200 pounds off the front axle. So it would transform the handling. But I had to buy a new engine stand for doing Jaguar engines because I thought, oh, it's not that big. And I put it on and let that down off the crane, and the whole engine stand collapsed. Bent the main up right. Oh, God, here we go. More expense. Yeah. But yeah, lovely car. Oh,
so we move into the bad category.
Now we can have some fun.
Go on, Ed.
We're going to have some fun now.
Are we? Hang on. My name is Trevor, and I once owned a cage.
No.
Next.
Let's get it out. Let's get it out in the open now. Yeah.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, take some more water with it next time before you make those decisions.
Yeah. Late night, beer, eBay.
Yeah.
So you didn't put this baby together. This was a bought, not built.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole idea behind it was to take a used Metro and do very much like you did with the Robin Hoods, was to make something really cheap that you could put on top. You could build it in a driveway in a week, and you'd have a bit of fun with it. But
yeah,
he's so good at the engineering principles, but he should have asked somebody else to do a bit of design work on it for him.
Yeah,
because
I think
it's fugly, isn't it, from every angle,
I think it's the back end. It's kind of like gone down the Mini Moke style, but the front end is still a bar.
Behave, John.
I'm not knocking Mini Mokes, but that's the kind of thing that reminds me of. The back end looks like a Mini Moke-ish, and it's still got the standard car front end on it. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me.
I can see Paul getting a twinkle in his eyes for it, personally.
No.
If it doesn't have a classic Mini engine, and he's not interested.
It's got A series. That was Mini. It was Mini.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a Mini. It's got mini subframes. So if someone come to you, Paul, to join Mini Kits, and they had a cage, would you let them in?
There is some in the club with them. To be fair. weren't these actually made in Redditch?
Yes, it was where the Robin Hood factory was, I believe. Yeah, but when he launched it at Newark Show, I can't remember what year it was, a long time ago now, and he had quite an impressive pitch in the show hall. And I walked across to it and thought, what, why? So many questions. And then I saw it was from Robin Hood, and I thought, surely you're just taking the mick. You must be just having a bit of a laugh. But no, I don't know how many were sold. I presume some, because they carried on making them for a little while. But
give me a minute.
Yeah. But again, if you
I think go on, Chris.
I was going to say that if you want most people's impressions who have nothing to do with kit cars about what a kit car looks like, they're going to point at stuff like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the reputation that hangs on to our corner of the market, which is a bit sad.
Yeah.
Right, I've got the numbers here, and it was originally done by Richard Stewart, as we know, under the Robin Hood banner, and then it was taken over by Dave Hurst of Driffield, which I think he bought, and Chris may again correct me, I think Richard Stewart, when he lost interest, offered it as like a job lot of like 10 chassis or whatever and so on.
And the moulds, whatever, yeah.
Well, I don't think there was much moulding going on. It was Robin Hood between 98 and 02 and Cage Motors between 02 and 03, and they reckon 110 were made.
Blimey.
And interestingly,
they're going to be quite rare.
But the other thing is, but probably about 4 of them got on the road. But what you've actually got pictured there is the deluxe model. Because
deluxe.
Right, calm down at the back, because the original one, the base model, it didn't have. I think those are actually some kind of fiberglassy kind of wings, or cut down. They might even be cut down mini wings, possibly. No, but the original one. The original one didn't have that had just sort of bent sort of steel for the wings, and had like Lotus 7 style headlamps popping out, and it didn't have a molded front bumper like that one, which knowing Richie Stewart, he probably bought a job lot of something from the Far East or whatever.
It made it fit, yeah.
Made it fit. But this one just had a bar across the front. So, you're looking at the upgrade model there.
Yeah.
I reckon that front bumper is MGF.
I was going to say MG. Yeah.
You could be right. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Definitely MG.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And then apparently there was the Cage vamp, which was an alternative convertible version of the Cage made for a short while by Robin Hood Engineering.
Right. Oh, well.
Moving on quickly.
Moving on. What are we looking at?
Now, this is the Moss.
Oh, hang on. You got me this one.
It's a Moss Monaco. Now, Moss made the Mamba, which was a 1930s MG TD copy. And it was all on Triumph running gear. But they had a demand for an even cheaper kit. So that's either, I think it's Herald or Spitfire. I think they could use both chassis, but certainly Herald.
It looks like
and they would provide you with a little bit of bent aluminium, a little bit of fiberglass for the back, and you got 20 quids at the bits. There you go, sunshine. Go and build yourself a car. And they are just they fulfilled their function. They were very, very cheap, and they were quite exhilarating to drive. But they're so minimalistic. And the quality was not good.
Yeah, I like the look. I like the wide wheels.
I'm with John on that one. Yeah,
that's his best angle, honestly. Yeah. When you actually see it in full side profile, you realise why 1930s and 1950s cars, the proportions are so different, because the engine wasn't over the front subframe; it was more in the middle of the car. So the nose is too long and too far forward.
Yeah.
And because they didn't want to modify chassis and run again, they wanted to sell it cheaply. They just left everything where it was and put a bit of old bent fridge door over the top of it. And
a couple of levers in the bonnet. Yeah.
And if I could throw a couple of so go on, Chris.
Yeah. No, I'm done now. Yeah.
I was going to say the throwing a cut, because what it sort of caught my eye, and there's been a couple of kits over the years, and one of them is in my head. Is the ones with the, you could almost title it inappropriate drivetrains for the replica they're trying to achieve.
That could make a good series, actually.
And the one that springs to mind, and I think, Chris, it was about 05, so I don't know when that fits in when you were doing the Kit Car magazine stuff. Do you remember the company that came out with an MR2, a body kit for an MR2 that made it look like a Mustang?
Oh God, yes. I hope I'd forgotten about that for the rest of my life. Proportionally,
and you just think,
just wrong.
Yeah. It's like, how wrong did the meeting go when you were discussing about we've got this idea for a design of a Mustang. We've got all these cars on like the ideas board. Which one shall we choose to fit it to? Oh, the mid-engined Japanese sports car. Yep, that really fits the American front-engined rear drive. Yeah.
And if I do remember that kit car, the front end looked like it had been sat in front of a fire and melted.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I mean, I presume the guy who designed it didn't have many friends, because otherwise they should have turned round to him and said, "Look, hang on, it's probably not your best idea. Stop sinking money into it."
Yeah, that leads into this next comment from Seven Spot. What was the best and worst car you ever owned, and why?
Ooh.
Cage. End of.
Cage.
I had a Skoda Estelle for a short amount of time, and that was pretty ropey. Yeah, not a kit car.
Yeah. Well, if we're going for like mainstream cars, I had a Citroen Xantia. And the only advantage I had with that was that I spent so much time in the service centre of the local dealers. I nearly got me leg over with the girl behind it.
And as for best one, I built an Adams Roadster for a customer. I didn't actually own it. And that had a nicely tuned 4.2 jag lump in it, auto gearbox, and everything was lengthened and stretched to make sure it fits all the people. And that was a lovely, lovely car. You know, I wish I could have owned that.
Lovely message coming in from Debbie McGee.
That's
Best wishes
Jake's
to you
mum.
all.
That's
Hello,
not,
Debbie. That's Jake's
that's
mum.
not. It's not the magician.
No, this is the other Debbie McGee.
Yeah, the other Debbie McGee.
Yeah.
Very timely, actually, because towards the end of the show, we're going to mention a little project that that Jake is going to be working on later this week. We can't say much right here, but hi, Debbie, and hi, Jake.
Hi, Debbie. Hope
Hi,
you like
Debbie.
the shirts. Hope you like the shirts.
Oh, the last one was. How am I going to top that? Honestly.
Yeah. Moving on to the ones that coulda, shoulda, and woulda, but didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's a supercar. Any mainstream manufacturer would have been proud to turn that out. And
you squint and it's a McLaren F1.
yeah,
And this is
I
a
think
Phantom Vortex, is it not?
Yeah, it is. You can still get them, and they're just trying to develop an electric one.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh
I
dear.
saw that on their site.
It still looks like an MR2 for me.
Well, when you see
No.
it in the flesh, it doesn't look like any of those. It actually is a
No.
really good
Probably
standalone design.
an unflattering shot.
It's
then,
got a lovely
yeah.
stance.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
one of the things when they first launched it, it had the Rover 820, which was a
That's right.
Honda engine, effectively V6 in it.
Yeah.
But they kept the dash binnacle from the Rover, and that's one of those things that was just screaming out at me. Come on, just change the dash, because everything else is lovely. That V6 engine worked fine, but you looked into the doorway and you could see it was an old Rover dash, and you think, I know if I bought one and built one, I'd have the chance to change it. But for the company demonstrating.
Was that the Rover dash where all the needles pointed down?
That's it. Yeah, it's a big square box, effectively.
Yeah.
Now,
And all the needles pointed down. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they've used Mondeo dash on the later ones. So you've got that nice rounded top binnacle, and you can get different gauge covers for them. So, but yeah, I've never built one of those, but I would love to, because I think it's a really good piece of design.
Yeah.
It does look like a bit like Sex on Wheels.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to think of the guy who designed it. Is it Chris Greville Smith? I think. I can't really remember. Excuse me if I've got it wrong. But he was an ex-Leyland designer, so he came from a professional design background. So the intactness of the design is a true credit to his previous training and what he'd been taught to do. So, but yeah, very good. You could take that to the golf club and you could park it in any car park, and everybody would be going, "Oh, what's that? You know, where did you get that from?" Because it's a really good-looking car.
Yeah.
And I think because the other thing with me is it's in that funny, almost grey area that it almost should have been a production car, and but there are so many that have failed. And through my, one of my previous employers, I was involved with the Arash car, which then became a Marcos and then became a Ginetta. And again, it's that age-old problem of, yes, it's great setting up and building these cars, but people almost want to see you around for a little while before they buy one. And a lot of these companies can't survive on that money. So it was interesting. They didn't go, as far as I remember, Chris, I don't think they particularly went down the turnkey route. They just went down a high-end quality kit for people to build. So, but even then it didn't quite, because it was sort of early 2000s from memory. What was that was the Vortex. What was the manufacturer name?
It's Phantom Vortex.
Phantom, that was it.
Yeah. But let's not underestimate the amount of money it takes to get a car like this to market, fully productionized.
Yeah.
And then get your sales team going. You're talking many hundreds of thousands of pounds to do this kind of work professionally. So yeah, if you're working at the back of a unit and you're a bit struck for cash, it's a very difficult thing. I'd spent a long time working for Sebrings over at Three Holes, not far from me, when they were doing their Austin Healey clones. And
Sebring, really quality kits as well.
They were very good quality kits, and they tried to go down the whole TUV route, and they went through testing and everything else. But it was just eating inordinate sums of money trying to get all the testing and the qualifications and the certification that you needed. And in the end, a big financier came in and he ran it for a little while. But even he said, in the end, there's just not the volume of sales. It doesn't make sense unless you could sell 100 cars a year, which you're not going to, when you're going that level.
And at the right price point. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? If you don't hit that right sweet price point, you're just not going to sell these.
Yeah. Whereas something like this, the Phantom, realistically, that should have been £100,000 fully built car. And I think you might well have justified the market. But when people realise it's got old Rover running gear in it, they walk away.
Yeah.
You were right with the designer, by the way, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. The memory hasn't completely gone.
No, and it was launched. Mine has though. It was launched in '97, so that kit's 37 years old.
Yeah.
Still looks relatively fresh.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's a good move, them trying to do an electric version now, because if they can do a fully built electrified one, I think they'll pick some custom up. I really do.
Mm.
What do we think about electric cars? I know GBS have just announced their it's already in production, and they've taken about 4 or 5 orders. What do we think about electric cars, electric sevens, and that kind of thing? Is that a route we should take?
No.
Yeah, you're swearing again, John.
They don't fit where I live. If you live in a city, electric vehicles are a great solution.
Perfect. Yeah.
Because you can keep you can keep the air quality cleaner in the cities. It's quieter. And everything about having an electric car as a city car. But where I am, I'm 20 miles from the nearest shops.
Exactly.
Everywhere's a long way away. And I don't want to spend 4 days if I want to go and see my sister in Wales.
Well, that's one side of it. But also you got to take into consideration if they want to electrify everything, just changing the grid is going to be horrendous.
So I think it just needed a common sense approach to say, let's encourage electric cars for people who they work for, but let's not outlaw and blackball everybody else that still wants to drive an old petrol car. So it just needed common sense. And when there's a government involved, common sense is at the very bottom of the pile. Yeah.
And as I said, I think, what was it I said earlier? Oh, yeah, it would sound really good with a Hayabusa engine in it.
Well, Chesil's did do an electric 356, and I think now Westfield Chesil are going down that route big time because it's a classy car. You can drive it. And electric works just nice, 50 or 60 mile range.
That's another little rabbit hole we have to dive into quickly. Has anybody heard anything from Westfield Chesil? I mean, I've been sending them messages. I would love to get back in there and just do an update, and it's just gone real quiet for me.
Yeah, I think they're chugging along. I know they've obviously moved down from was it Dudley or Midlands, wherever they were, down to Bicester Village. They're set up the new workshop and so on. The new website is up and running, but I've not really heard much. I've not seen much in the press, which I'm a little bit disappointed with, if I'm honest. Being a Westfield fan.
Well, the last time I spoke to Simeon was and I know Simeon isn't there, but that's new at last year. And allegedly they had forward orders for about 5 or 6 months, and they were very much pushing down the new chassis route and the EV route. And I think that was, again, it was targeting a different market. It wasn't the Robin Hood customer that was buying a kit for 1,500 quid and with a sledgehammer building it in his garage. They were building turnkeys for as much as I hate EVs, for what Chris mentions. People that live in the city, they wanted something that looked classic. They wanted something that handled well, and they wanted EV power. And they could have a bespoke Chesil built for probably 45 grand, and that's what they wanted instead of going out and buying a brand new Range Rover or whatever. So that's the market route they seem to be going down. And allegedly they were going to. Have I got the number right? Lotus 23. They had the rights to, didn't they? Or
yes, yeah.
Lotus 23. They were.
Jim Dudley at Tiger's got a Lotus 23 copy as well. So, but he was saying to try and get the volume sales out of it is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And
how
I think
do we get younger people involved with building cars is the question that somebody popped in here.
Can I start on this one? Jim and I spoke a couple of days ago about cycle carts, and I think it's a perfect opportunity because it's a slightly smaller project in physically in size, much less money. And if you could start getting some categories for younger people in cycle carts, I think it would be a great launching pad for them. That you wouldn't necessarily do it at a school, but you could certainly do it at a young person's college when they get to 16 and leave high school. That I think you could do an awful lot of good here to get them used to roughly how things go together and actually making stuff, not like doing car repairs, but actually creating something and then going out and using it.
I think you're spot on. I mean, I happened to be interviewing Ron Champion, and I didn't bring the topic up. He did, and that's exactly. I asked him what he thought of the future, looking into the future with low cost and people building kits and cars at home, and that's exactly what he said. It's cycle cars, carts rather.
He said exactly the same thing. It's a cheap entry level. Anybody can build in the garage. If they don't have, I know Ron's looking at doing not necessarily a book, but just instructions on how to build one. It's a cheap entry level sport. Anybody can get involved with. There are some basic rules and regulations, but after that, it's a cheap sport that anybody can get involved with. And I absolutely 100% behind this. Yeah, get it into schools. Because schools, I mean, the person that posted the comment said that, schools have dropped engineering courses. Absolutely correct. I did O-level engineering at school. Absolutely loved it. Built a steam engine, built a vice. You don't get that in schools these days. So, all the children that are coming out of schools, they haven't got a clue how to build things.
Although I will say this, I mean, we talked about body kits, but there's that new genre of people who like to put plastic on cars, and that seems to be a direction that a lot of kids are going into right now. Because I think Chris, you said, and certainly what Ron the Champion said was, the available. The ability to go to a junkyard no longer exists. You can't climb into a bin and pull out parts. And certainly there's not enough cars that with our front engine, rear drive type of situation to build a 7 out of. So you got to work with what you've got. And that's what people are doing, these body kits.
At Newark this year, anybody on the Saturday who wandered over to where the cycle cart guys were could not help being infected by their enthusiasm and the fun they were having.
Yeah,
they really had a great weekend, and they don't need a full garage. They don't need a full workshop. You can build it in a shed, and you can put it almost in the back of an estate car or on a tiny little trailer.
Absolutely.
It's a great outlet for people who want to express themselves and make something a bit different. Go and have a tinker, and then go and have a bit of fun with it at the weekend. There's no RSC competition license. There's no fireproof overalls. No, £500 crash helmet. It's just our kind of market for people who haven't got pots and pots of money that can go out and make something interesting and have a great deal of fun with it.
I spoke to Ian Fletcher, who runs cycle carts at Malvern, and we took down the line of cars and what people came up, because they're all individual. There's all individual suspension. But he was telling me that you can build a car for less than £1,000, which is nothing. But then you can go. Not only that, you can then go racing, and the race series is actually worldwide. So it's a bit bizarre because they've got measured miles and measured courses, but they have like a worldwide ranking. And Britain or England or whatever you want to call it, we still have 2 world records at the moment. I think Brazil's coming up quickly behind. Germany are coming up quickly behind. But it's fascinating that you can actually take part in a worldwide race series for less than £1,000. In the UK, you don't have to travel. Brilliant.
I think Sorry, just quickly, I think Chris makes a very valid point. I think that is a very good starting point. I think the problem we've got now with the generation, and I've got a 24-year-old and a 20-year-old, and they want everything instantly. And I think this is the problem with the upcoming generation. is that, and best part of 20 years ago when I was trying to sell the Firefly, I think I could sense that the problem was I foresaw where the market was going, and that kit I think I was marketing for about $4,000, or you could build it for $4,000 and I would sell the kit for $3,000. But the problem was things like MX5s, particularly at that point, was starting to come down to $6,000 or $7,000. And the problem you got is the people look at it and they don't want to spend 2 years in the garage building it. They want to go out this weekend and enjoy it. And I think that is one of the big obstacles that we've got to get over, is trying to convince people that the building part of it is all part of the experience. People just want to be able to walk out and say, oh, I like the look of that, I'll have it now, or not actually build the thing.
I think you're right on. Just the appetite for hanging out in the shed for 2 years is just like not there for the kids. They want to turn their baseball cap on sideways and make some noise.
But on a purely practical basis, if you look at all the new housing estates that are popping up all around the country, where are the garages? There's no money in garages. They're just So 95% of new houses, you haven't got anywhere to do it. You've got to go and rent space somewhere. Whereas we're all used to having a house with a garage, or I've got outbuildings on a farm. But most of the population now don't have access to it.
Wow. Moving right along, guys. What are we looking at here? Trevor, do you want to jump in, or do you want to jump in, Chris?
I believe there was a very good video on one of these cars.
Who made it?
I don't know. Do you remember, Jim?
What's a guy? What was his name? Trevor or something?
It was it was one of the later ones. It was a GCS. And I did actually follow it through because sadly, the owner had this and a lot of other cars, and sadly he passed away and the cars went to auction. It had a Chevy 5.7 litre V8.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I put up my hand slightly earlier in the auction for a midget, so I was already committed. But that sold for just $5,000, I think. It had Sierra underpinnings because it was one of the later ones. No, and it was running, driving. It might have even been MOT from memory. I can't remember. But I think as something that should have done better. And I don't know whatever happened to the moles and so on, because was it GCS? Was that the last one, Chris, that had it down in Wales?
That's it. GCS had it, and Tiger owned it for a little while as well.
Yeah, Tiger had it.
Tiger owned it.
Yeah. But I've restored and driven Morgans, and I've built a couple of GCS Hawks, and it's an absolute no-brainer for me, which is the nicer car. These are bigger, more comfortable, suspension's better, you don't get woodworm, you can put any engine that you want. So they're just a much better car.
Yeah. And you're not spending most of your day oiling the brakes.
Oh, well, I don't know if you know, funny little detail on Morgans from the factory, part of their service schedule is putting oil on the welting between the wings and the body to stop them squeaking.
That's exactly what I was getting at. Yeah.
It's just, really? And that's a service item. Yeah, okay, fair enough. One of the ones
LC Developments. Sorry to jump back in there because I just found it. LC Developments were the ones, weren't they, that took it on?
Yes.
And the one I did some footage of was an LC one because I think it had gone to Sierra by then. I think it's interesting you say that, Chris, because again, that what I was saying about the Chesil, where they wanted more modern underpinnings on a classic style, you're almost reinforcing that argument by what you're saying about this. You've got more modern, Sierra underpinnings with proper double wishbone suspension, yada yada yada, on a classic looking car, which is what Chesil are going down with the non-Beetle floor pan designs.
Yeah,
I quite like it. I mean,
I think
and they had a 2+2 with this thing.
Yeah, I think this is dormant now. I don't believe anybody's still working with them or trying to produce any of them. I think it's like
I think LC stopped knocking them out about 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Too bad.
But
nice looking car.
One of the Morgans I restored, I needed some new wings because they have a rolled wire edge in the front wings. So I contacted Morgans at Malvern, and they said, "Oh, we're on a 4-year back order."
4 years?
What?
4 year back order?
You might as well just tell me they're not available, because I'm not going to wait 4 years for a front wing. Oh, no, I'm sorry, sir, that's all we can do. I said, what you need to do is change your supplier, or get some more staff in. You can't.
Could you imagine having to oil your wings for all that length of time while you're waiting for a new one to come in?
For 4 years, yeah.
Just crazy.
What are we looking at here, Chris?
Madison?
GP Madison, that's it, yeah. This one's very slightly different from most of them. This one's got a slightly chrome or stainless steel grill shell, whereas most of them had a painted grill shell, like the early Packards. So the body colour carried on all the way through.
I was never sure about the windscreen on that. It just looks completely out of place. The rest of it I can probably deal with.
Well, I've built 2 of these, one on a Beetle chassis and one with a Ford running gear. And they're just too small. It's a good piece of design shape, but it needs to be about 25% bigger because it's a copy of a 1930s Art Deco expensive roadster. So you can't get away with little bits. And admittedly, the restriction was on a Beetle floor pan.
But so it looks like a 3/4 scale car.
Yeah. If it's going to go Art Deco, it should have had more chrome on it. So the windscreen should have been chrome.
Yeah,
everything should have been chrome.
A lovely piece of engineering on this, because this is probably a Beetle engine one as well. But if you look, it's got side exhausts on it. So what they did, you took the Beetle exhaust and you ran it forward all the way along underneath the car into a wide
and then back out again.
Oh my god!
Can I refer the group back to my earlier statements regarding inappropriate donors?
There you go.
And of course, it sounded like a Beetle when you started it up.
I do. I might even have been hanging around with. I'm sure Paul will remember it. I think it was not this year. It was last year at Malvern. There was a guy driving around in the was it the Bugatti replica that based on the Beetle, and he was driving round and it started to misfire horribly and eventually stopped. And of course, he had the embarrassing moment where to look at the engine, he had to open the boot.
And yet, if you look now at Teals when they changed over to the Marina running gear, and they are now fetching very, very good money because they look period correct.
Okay.
It's only got an 18 under Marina engine in it, but the some people have fitted the 2-litre Trance straight 6 into them, and that looks, sounds, and works really well. And a Teal with the straight 6 in it. I think one sold recently for about 29,000, something like that. So,
wow,
really? Okay.
Good resale values.
Amazing. And moving
favorite.
My favorite.
Dax.
I want one of these babies.
Dax. Well, I'm going to say it's a Dax, but then it moved on to Kamala. And
Kamala.
This is probably what got me interested in kit cars. I have some notes. Well, I've got some notes in my head. I think it came out in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
It was Peter Walker, who was an ex-Ford engineer, moved to Dax, and these things were running. The top end ones were running the Ford Cosworth turbo engines.
Absolutely,
that's right.
But bear in mind, back in 1996, this thing could run 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds.
It could also.
And I think it had a quoted top speed of 160 miles an hour. Phenomenal.
The only problem was it can go from 0 to 60 in about how many shekels? How much money did this baby cost back then?
But there was very little that could take it dynamically, because if you put one of those on a track and you know how to drive it, even Ultimas struggle to keep up with those with a 6-litre Chevy in the back. Suspension design was really superb. Aerodynamically, it was very good, and it's just a beast of a motor car.
Yeah, there's one that's in it. You might have picked up on it if you've been following the GBS website. Because GBS do servicing on all sorts of cars as well. There was one that was in there, and the guy that had bought it. The previous owner had bought the car, but all he wanted was the Ford Cosworth 2-litre turbo engine out of it. So he ripped the engine out. So the new owner had bought it, and it's now gone into GBS to have a new engine fitted. It won't be a Ford. I can't remember what it's going for. It was C-Tech or something or other.
A Ford Duratec engine with a turbo on the side would be more powerful than a Cobra engine. So, it's a lovely conversion.
Yeah. So I like looking at it. It's got the 7S front wings.
But looks like a platypus
on the back. Yeah. Platypus. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well, if you can either love them or you don't have to love them, but I do love them. And I'm just going to leave this with the audience. If anybody's still with us, please, if anybody owns one or knows someone who owns one, we would love to do a walk around with you. So please put it out there.
There was only, I know about this car. I know about a lot of the cars. There's only about 50 built. There was one that was up for sale a while back that had chassis number 51, although that was disputed.
It will be disputed because according to the Book of Knowledge,
50.
30.
Was it 30?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to find. I've been beating around looking.
Oh, you're right. I've got 30. Yeah, sorry, 30.
The quick interesting discussion point on that, and this may be somewhere that Paul will jump in because he may be having the same problem with his niche of the market. Is that it's interesting? Someone's taken the Cosworth engine out of that, probably for a Sierra Cosworth, and that has become a problem with a lot of the early kit cars that people are stripping them down, particularly stuff that's got Mark II Escorts on them. Mark II Escort, 1600, overhead valve engine, 4-speed box, solid live rear axle. People are stripping those kit cars literally for the running gear.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But a message coming in from Becoming a Man of God, that thing is sick. And he's right. It is amazing.
Yeah. I like it. I do like it. I know, as you say, it may look like a platypus, but I like it.
They're a pain in the bum to get in and out of because unless you fit a removable steering wheel, you've got no doors. You have to open that side window pod thing, stand on the seat and try and slither down inside it. So if you're of taller stature, they are very difficult to get in. But
so it doesn't make it design.
Are they 2CV headlamps?
They look like
it. Yeah,
they do look like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to be a nerd, but
it is Dax after all.
But I think this thing of the early kit cars being stripped down for their mechanicals is a concern. I don't know, Paul. Does it happen with the mini kit side of it, or
it happens? It happens a lot with the minis. A basket case 1275 engine now will do like $1,000.
Wow!
And you've seen cars for sale for less than that with 1275s in.
Mm-hmm.
You also see a lot of cars come up for sale minus the engine.
Yeah, the sad part is that with a mini engine kit, you can only really put another mini engine back in it because there isn't room to put anything else. Whereas with a lot of the 7 style kits, you can put practically any engine and gearbox in if you're prepared to make some engine mounted brackets, because you've got a bit more space.
Well, there are some bike engines that go into the mini kits. Quite nice, and Trevor knows about the BMW K2 engine ahead that goes on the mini block, and that does quite well in them too.
Yeah, it does.
If you do have a couple of inches on front, like on a Mini Clubman, you can get Vauxhall engines in them, 2-litre 16 valves and that, but you have to modify the subframe.
And there's some Honda engines that work too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And there was one I come across that had. I've come across one that. Every time I come across a 1275 GT when I'm doing a video at a classic car show, it doesn't seem to have a 1275 GT engine. And there was one with a Honda, which had done a really nice conversion. And I think there's a Nissan Micra engine, the 1300 one. That fits as well.
The Micras fit straight under a roundhouse front with no modifications, apart from the subframe, which is more brake horse and 5 gears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, one question just popping in here. What would be your dream car, guys, if money were not an object?
A dream. Oh, it's coming from 7 Spot Media. So yeah, whoever that is. So yeah, what would be your dream kit car? Mine was always going to be a Cobra.
GT40.
But my ex decided she wanted a conservatory instead. So it's a long story. But yeah. What would be your dream kit car?
GT40.
Yeah.
I think mine would be as well, to be fair. I do like the GT40s.
Yeah. Dark Art Auto says 427 AC.
I know.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I'll go with that. Thank you, Dark.
Yeah.
Come on, Chris. You've had about 130 of the bloody things. Which is your favourite?
It'll be the next one I'm building.
Oh, here we go. Who do you think you are?
Would that be a Tiger? Would that be a Tiger Ravon?
And after that one, yeah, I've actually got a full set of body molds for the old Adams Roadsters, and I want to make my version. I want to make my version of the Adams Roadster because I'm not going to try and, even though Dennis Adams is no longer with us, I don't want to try and rip off his design. But I'd like, the Cruella de Vil car with the great big long bonnet and the big swoopy wings. I'd like to make something like that just for me, just for the fun of it. Modern running gear, modern engine. But to try and get the proportions just right.
Yeah. Straight 6 engine though in it, just to give it that verbal.
No, I like Rover V8s. I just do.
Yeah.
I think they're a light engine, they're easy to work, they produce reasonable power. I've got a 4.6 litre one in bits in the workshop already. It's been there for about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So
and something to be said about being able to work on it yourself. It's just nice.
Yeah, it's just an easy engine. It's not the most fuel efficient thing ever, but I've actually got a 1947 Rover P2 chassis sitting up in the storage barn, and I'm thinking that chassis with the Adams Roadster bodywork on it and a closed cab at the back, that could be a very interesting car.
Yeah, you could put a mini body shell on the back.
A 9-foot long bonnet.
Guys, we've been on for 1 hour and 11 minutes. We're going on and on and on. But this has been an excellent discussion. I think that the subject is worth future discussions, and we might get maybe Trevor to jump in next time with his favorites, and we'll drag in some more guys from the kit car industry if we can muster up Jack Wood and perhaps some other guys. Steve Hull would perhaps be great if he's available.
Yeah, I did ask Jack Wood and Steve Hull, but Jack Wood's so busy with his relaunch of the
he's busy.
Kit Car magazine.
Yeah,
which is great. The first issue of the new version will be coming out. It'll be coming out before December. It'll be coming out this year, this month. Looking forward to it. Yeah, before December. Yeah.
Well, let's just tie a bow on this thing and say goodbye if it still works with you, all of you. But before we do, we got one final little piece of subject matter to discuss.
We do.
Yeah, we do. There it is. It's happy birthday. No, don't do that. No.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday, Chris.
Yeah.
Now I can go and have a whiskey.
Yeah, there you go. Guys, I'd like to thank you all for joining the show today. John, as always,
hang on, we got some guitar going on.
What's that?
Sorry, as my daughter's guitar was there, I couldn't resist the temptation. Sorry.
You weren't going to play Stairway to Heaven, I hope. Anyways, Chris, happy birthday, and thank you for joining us. John?
Yeah, Chris.
All right.
Chris, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And Trevor, as always, absolutely fantastic.